right, welcome to the Rocks and Roots podcast. And tonight, Mr. Crank and I have a very special guest for you. Just kidding, it's us and Mrs. Cranky. Holy shit. We haven't had a solo episode in like forever. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. We had a guest. We'll reschedule him.
Yeah.
So
he's been asking me, like, when are we going to do it again? When are we going to do it again? When are we going to do it again? And I say, how's Thursday? And he's like, great. And he's like, oh, JK. Have something tonight. We'll see you next week.
All right. Next week is fine.
Fine, Frank. Next week.
Yes. So, and we owe that anyway, because I was preparing for Wild Across America last night, and it was October.
Yes, it was.
And we were like, we'll do part 2
soon.
And then it's March, and I guess we'll do it sometime this month, hopefully.
Yeah, next week. So that's what we're looking at.
That happened to me. I was like, we're totally gonna do a thing where we like interview you, and like,
oh yeah, we kept pushing you back.
Year later.
Well, we did it. We a Lannister always returns his debts. Is that how that was? Now we always keep our promises. The Rocks and Roots.
There we go.
Promises delayed, promises kept. So
early start off.
Anyway, what the fuck are we talking about? We are
the trials and tribulations of trying to run.
Yes. Woo! My thing for tomorrow night said that they could reschedule. That's awesome.
Yay!
So
it's gonna snow.
Canceled plans. It's like a drug. It is the best, most awesome feeling in the entire world. Even if you kind of wanted to do it, I don't know if it's a millennial thing, an elder millennial thing.
I think it's just an age thing. I think like once you hit 30, you're like, oh, no.
Oh,
I just want to
thank
sit on my ass.
Oh, thank God. I'm going to put my pajamas on and eat chocolate ice cream in my pajamas.
So,
sounds amazing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that tomorrow with you. Not with the listeners, with Mrs. Cranky. So, we are talking about, like you said, the trials and tribulations of trying to run. Because on March 18th, we are running our second ultramarathon attempt.
Yeah. Good way to put it. Yes.
So the rat race in Wells Mills Park in Waretown, New Jersey. Where the fuck is that, Tumbles?
By LBI. It's in between. It's a little south of Toms River, but a little north of like the main bridge to go to LBI. So it's on the mainland.
All right, it is 100% off-road.
And for those who don't know what LBI is, it's Long Beach Island. Sorry.
And it sucks.
Those are fight words for some people.
I know, in this state, yes.
Really passionate about their LBI and their lighthouse, and there are some really passionate people. That's just
those are fighting words.
Goodbye, listeners.
I'm surprised we don't have the pitchforks and torches if they figured out, exactly where we live.
So Mrs. Cranky and I had a family member that had a significant other that had a house on LBI, and we went there a couple times, and it's not, I hate the beach anyway, but we were not super thrilled.
It's prime real estate now.
Yeah.
I also think it was just, it wasn't a bad experience itself. It was just, I think, a little bit awkward because we were not all. It wasn't like going with close family or close friends. It felt a little bit. We were unsure of what the social expectations were, and I think that kind of colored your opinion of it. I think if the two of us would attempt to go down there and do a weekend down there, you probably would have a very different experience. So, it wasn't my favorite place to go, but I'm also willing to admit that maybe feeling nervous about the whole weekend and a little bit awkward colored my experience of the place. So I'd be willing to give it another shot.
We'll go.
Anybody have any recommendations for LBI?
Yes, send your recommendations for LBI. We'll try again. So this is at the Brookville Scout Camp. It's an 8-mile loop and then 4 smaller loops
6 milers.
around, thank you for doing the math,
You're welcome.
around Wells Mill Pond. So the goal here is we want to add, I would love to put on the Instagram for the podcast, ultra marathoners
Woohoo!
added to the
Me
description.
too.
That's why we're doing this, for the Instagram description on the podcast.
For the gram.
Yes. So I was trying to figure this out this morning, and was it 2018 or 2019 that we did the Philadelphia Marathon?
2019.
Okay.
Before time.
All right.
Yeah,
so
the
it
before
was
time.
2019.
It was.
right.
It was. I actually came across my memories on Facebook a couple of days ago, and I had registered for the marathon like maybe March 1st of 2019, saying, yep, I'm doing this. Is stupid.
And it almost was stupid. Yeah, I struggled through the last 5 miles of that. So thank you for dragging my ass across the finish line on
You're
that.
welcome.
So that is the race where we've been training. You found a really awesome article on that specific race that I read this morning.
It was very thorough.
I skimmed 75% of it.
Yeah. So with the rat race, I found this race about a month ago at this point. It was close by. It didn't have a time cutoff besides get off the course before it gets dark. And that really appealed to me. So we will have from 8 o'clock in the morning until 7:30 at night to finish this. But the thing was, they have their website, they have everything, but I couldn't find for the life of me a course map. I mean, they, like, other people created course maps for the race, but nothing on the website. It was very minimal.
Okay. That's not encouraging, but we'll get to, obviously it's going to be marked, and it's just loops, so it'll be fine.
They've done this now for 4 years. This is their 4th year they've doing the 50K.
Awesome. And the article that you sent, I had not heard of this guy, but apparently Rich Ropel, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, is like a superstar in New Jersey running and has represented the United States in international ultramarathon competitions, and he does this race every single year. The author of the article, Scott Snell, will post it in the episode description, went through, recounted his entire race, and bottom line, he was super proud of himself, and deservedly so, because he, as an amateur, only finished 10 seconds behind Rich Ropel, New Jersey running professional superstar.
Yep.
Rich made a wrong turn, which we will not do, and ended up about a mile off course and had to come back, and that's what slowed him down. And Scott Snell, like, kept seeing him, and then he'd disappear, and then he'd pass him again, and they kept leapfrogging each other, and it came down to literally they finished 10 seconds apart, which is a really, really close race and an exciting finish, especially when you have an amateur finishing that close to a professional.
Yeah, I think in Scott Snell's article, he said that he ate dirt like about meters from the finish line too. So I'm sure he would have been even closer if he didn't fall. But yeah, very, very impressive. And even the time is insane. I can't even fathom.
4 hours and 19 minutes for a 50K.
That's nuts.
Yeah, he was doing like 8-something minute miles most of the way through. So we are obviously not at that level.
You know, I was watching, actually last night, I was watching a video. Her last name is Mackenzie. They were going through the Black Rock 2023 100K race, which is a Western States qualifier. So you get a golden ticket to Western States 100 if you come in first or second place, male or female. And this woman, kills me to forget her first name, but she was going at record speeds. She ended up in second place, but she was at first place for 90% of the race. And if she had just eased up a little bit, I'm sure she could have jumped ahead and gotten first place easily. But yeah, doing 100K in what? 5 hours? 6 hours? That's an insane time.
So that's 60 miles?
Yeah, 62 miles-ish.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I'll put that in the show notes too, that YouTube video.
So that's what I'm going to have to work on, is pacing myself. That's what I always have to work on, and I always go too fast out of the gate. So I like your strategy. We're obviously going to walk the hills, and then maybe we'll start intervaling and alternating, because I don't care when we finish. It could take 8 hours. I don't really care. I just would like to finish.
Yes.
So.
That's always my goal with any race. I know I will never get first, second, or third, or even 10th place. However, if I finish the race, I am a happy person.
Yeah, and especially, I always shoot for like the middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
But just to finish this and add that ultramarathoner descriptor will be pretty fucking cool.
That's right. I think in 2020, when everyone was doing virtual races, I had officially signed up. You joined me unofficially. I had officially signed up for a 24-hour, 5 miles every 4 hours. I forget what it was.
I think it was 4 miles every 4 hours.
4 miles every 4 hours for 24 hours. And that overnight does suck. But, I mean, do I count it as an ultramarathon? Nah.
No, I definitely do not.
You definitely
because
do not.
I came home and went to sleep in the middle of it, so no. I liked the midnight runs.
Yeah, you like that the best.
The 7 a.m. after being, like, not up for 24 hours straight, but after being up for the majority of 24 hours and running 4 miles every 4 hours, that last leg in the morning, that was not fun.
No, you are a zombie. I mean, it doesn't matter if you get some sleep, you are interrupted.
So let's talk about our training.
All right.
I started... When did you bring this to my attention?
I think it was February 11th.
Okay. So fortunately, I think I had
February sometime.
Okay. Because I had been starting to run again in January, probably some New Year's resolution bullshit.
Yeah.
And my long runs in January were 6 mile runs. I'm doing air quotes for our non-video podcast.
But we did do our 10-miler on MLK Day.
Yes. So I was going to say, like, breaking 10 miles again and breaking double digits, because we had not done anything significant running-wise in years.
Yeah.
Nope. Not true. We did the half marathon in Vermont. But since then...
I always forget about that one. It was traumatizing.
Because, yes, you were traumatized. And
I
you're
was traumatized that weekend, too.
Yes.
When we got home, I ended up in the hospital.
Oh, yeah. We don't like to remember that weekend.
All around. That was a traumatic weekend all around.
I almost broke my tailbone. It was good times.
Right.
Yeah. Your family thought you got lost.
Yeah.
They were going to go looking for you.
Oh, my God.
So, breaking that 10 miles at Washington Crossing on MLK Day, for me, that was like a mental barrier. Like, okay, so I'm back in double digits. Now I'll just add 2 miles to that every weekend until I get to a marathon. And then as I broke in 18, 20 miles on my long runs, I haven't really been doing much during the week. But prior to that, I had been running 3 miles every other day.
Mm.
And that pretty much has been my training. And then we'll get to this past weekend, I did 24.
Yeah.
So what has your training been like?
So I've been training for a half marathon at Disney World that I was supposed to go to.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was supposed to be not like 2 weeks ago. So the last full weekend of February was when I was supposed to go down to Disney and run the half marathon. So I had been training.
Pretty Princess half marathon.
Yeah, the Disney Princess half.
Mrs. Cranky's yelling at me because
I actually saw some people posting about it on socials, and I was like, I thought that was. Oh.
Yeah, and the whole reason why, I mean, I had paid for the registration, which was an exorbitant fee of like $220. But then when you add up the flight and then the rental car and then the hotel and then you have to go to Disney because you're there, even though they don't allow you to go into the park, part of your registration, which is a crock of shit.
It is. I mean, it genuinely is. For the prices that Disney, a ticket should come with the price of your registration. You're going to be in the parks. It's a nice way. Like most other places do that kind of stuff. It allows you, if you're going to be in their facility running a race that you paid for, you should be able to stay and hang out at the parks that day. Sorry, that's what it should be.
No, absolutely.
Well, Bob Iger is trying to make money any way he can because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not making the money. Lucasfilm is not making the money. So they, as a company, are surviving by nickel and diming people and jacking prices at the park, and Tumbles kind of fell victim to that.
And also DeSantis took away their self-governing status, so they can't do as much anymore. So anyway, I realized that was going to be extremely expensive. So I said, forget it. I was well on track. I mean, I could have run a half marathon, no problem by that point.
You did.
I did. Yeah.
Because you went, you'll talk about it, but you went to the place with the thing for your 14-miler.
Yes. So I had more time during the week to fill out my training. So while my long runs were during the weekend, during the week I would do like a 4-miler, a 5-miler, and maybe another 4 or 5-er. So I would run during the week 2 to 3 times. I'm
going to interrupt, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I must say on Adidas running app, because we can keep track of each other, that was really fucking frustrating when I'm like, I ran 18 miles. I'm still 20 miles behind her for the month. Fuck. Anyway, continue.
And I'm like, so I'm like, yes, but in February, I was set to crack 100 miles, and I didn't get it. I got to like 99 because my body was literally saying, stop. Stop the running for a little bit. But anywho, I had done a 14-miler from my house to the George Washington Bridge and back. And there's some talking going on the other side of the screen here, and he's dying, and he still has his audio off, which is hilarious.
No, it's back. I muted myself because I let out a really disgusting belch, and Mrs. Cranky looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with me? She didn't know I had myself muted.
This is when we don't have any guests. We get to be silly.
I know.
So anyway.
All right, so 14 miles.
Yes, I had my 14-mile day, and then I went down for a family reunion the next weekend, and I was able to, overall, for like that weekend, I ran like 18 miles, but it was cut into slivers. So a 6, a 6, and a 7, if that's 18. Is that 18 or is that 19? Maybe.
That is, I think, 19.
Yes. So I did that, and then the next weekend, I didn't want to go out in the cold. Tried to do a long run on the treadmill, failed miserably. Could only get 9 miles on the treadmill, and then made up for it over a couple of days.
That's 7 more miles than I would have gotten on a treadmill. Can't do that. I can't do treadmills.
Yeah, actually, like, my mental game was really suffering that night, and then we went to Philly. I think.
Yes.
Was that it? Yeah, that was it. That was the thingy. I was gonna do 20 at Philly, but we know how that went.
So our strategies, just because of our work schedules and time, differ a little bit. You are more shorter runs, but more frequently, in like 100 miles on the month, which is fucking awesome. I've been not as much during the week, but on the weekends I go absolutely insane, and then I can't walk the next day. So Philly, I did 22 miles the weekend before.
Yeah, that's right.
And so my goal for Philly was 23-24. And we run in Philly all the time, so I wanted to hit a couple of different spots. One spot that we had never hit before, and then some other spots that we hadn't been to in a while. And if you watch the first Rocky movie, Rocky. Rocky
You
the
can't
Rocky.
miss it.
In the running montage in that movie, he runs through the Italian market, and it's the scene where he's running through the street and there's barrels that are on fire on either side. And I always thought that was like Sylvester Stallone just saying like Philadelphia is crappy and like not a good place, and like no, I was completely wrong. It's actually a really cool spot.
Yeah.
It is the Italian market that was set up in 1919 because a second wave of Italian immigrants came and they wanted a place that was their own to get their own ingredients and stuff shipped in, a place where they could gather as a community and have like their own internal marketplace. And it's still going today, and they have all like sorts of fresh fruits, vegetables. Hold on.
Is there an alert from Family Search?
Holy shit, that's really creepy. So,
I had gotten another message from Family Search about a different thing, and I was looking at my other messages, so it didn't just pop up.
Oh, okay. I'm glad it didn't just. Okay.
It was from like probably a few days, if not like last week. Apparently, I'm related to Walt Disney.
Why?
Bitch, give me my money.
I think you should cut off all contact with that, Christina.
He is my sixth cousin, twice removed.
You can get married. I mean, the Roosevelts did it.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently it's 5 or 6 generations. Like it's like he is my sixth cousin, twice removed. Like it even said like on my dad's side, there's my dad, and that's his line, and that's my line. But we were related up here.
All right, I want Mickey Mouse money.
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to run through the Italian market. I found a route. We mapped it out Friday night. The Italian market is on 9th Street. It's really fucking awesome. We got there. We started at the Art Museum, ran down Ben Franklin Avenue or Boulevard. Whatever. It's Ben Franklin.
It's that big
street
road.
The museum's on. Yeah. It's one of the widest roads in Philly. It's got all the flags from the countries on it.
It's where Rocky ran up the stairs. That's the end of it.
Yep. Made our way over to 9th Street, and we were pleasantly surprised. It was even cooler than I thought it would be. When we got there, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning-ish.
Yeah, they were just setting up.
So yeah, it was really cool to see them just setting up, lighting the fires in the barrels. I don't know, jump in. How would you describe it?
If you squinted, it was like watching The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yes.
young Vito Corleone was just getting into New York. I mean, it's more Italian. I mean, the best Little Italy is in the Bronx. It's not even New York City anymore because that's just maybe a block. But this, you get the real old school, old-timey feel.
That's a really good analogy because this was set up originally in 1919, and the flashback scenes in Godfather 2 take place around 1919.
Mm-hmm. Yep, highly recommend going down there early in the day so you can see, without the people, just to see them setting up.
And we were wondering, at least I was wondering the first time we were running through there, why there were also a bunch of Asian restaurants. That was there from the beginning. So it was obviously, rather to use a 21st century term, an inclusive community.
Diverse, a very diverse
We see lots
community.
of inclusive communities through history. I mean, especially New York, because, well, I mean, the holiday that's coming up, one of, my favorite food holidays.
St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
Oh!
Corned beef is an Irish American thing.
Oh, yeah.
They have no idea. They don't eat it over there. They might eat it over there now because we're kind of a conglomerated melting pot of a world at this point. But they didn't eat that. They had no idea what that was. But the Jewish community ate brisket, which is what corned beef is made of.
Yum, yum.
So you have this, the Jewish community and the Irish community kind of blended not together completely, but they were their neighbors, and they had the corning process is how you preserve meat. So they took this cut that was readily available because of their Jewish community neighbors, and they created this dish. They didn't really eat a lot of beef over there because there really wasn't a lot of beef over there. Like, it was unheard of. So it was this melting pot of conglomeration that over here that just kind of happened.
Yeah, and that's what's going on
over there.
It's an Italian market, but with a heavy Asian influence.
And you see that in New York City, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where people live in close community and close quarters, their cultures kind of...
And it's the people who are on the outside, like what you're talking about, Jews and the Irish, where they were on the outside.
And they kind of banded together as on the outside, and they're like, well, we're together, let's, we're friends. Like, we can kind of be friends. There's not this highbrow societal kind of, we need to do this because we are prim proper society. We are... No, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, we're neighbors. Hey, I got some food too. You want some? Oh, that looks really good. And exposing to new foods. Plus, Philly is a port, and that's how a lot of bakeries and cakes and cookies, and how the general public could even afford them, going back as far as the Revolutionary War era. That's why there were so many bakeries, because it would just come right off the boat.
Yeah, so you have like zero once you get it off the boat, there's no transportation cost. It's
just
there.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's why you have so many bakeries and interesting foods and the Asian foods and all of that is there, because it just literally came off the boat.
Yes.
The Philly is an interesting community.
Yeah, so highly recommend heading down there, especially in the early morning. So thank you. That was a very delightful segue. We made our way over to 6th Street, which has the first hospital in the country ever, 1751. Another Ben Franklin creation.
How did I know?
Yes, because it's Philly. Everything is Ben Franklin.
Everything is Ben Franklin, but they call it Jefferson Hospital.
What?
Yeah.
What's that really good Franklin biography that I read?
It's probably over there if you want to go look. So
it was really good. Anybody wants to learn anything about Franklin, it was really good.
And then we made our way to Ben Franklin Bridge after a pit stop in a Starbucks.
The Bourse is not open early morning on a Sunday, just FYI, people.
What's the Borscht for those people who have not been listening to us?
It's like another indoor market.
Yep.
It's like Reading Terminal, but smaller.
What I really liked and what I started to notice throughout the day was once people realized what we were doing, because we had our running vest on.
Yeah.
And when we could stop and talk to people, and once people realized what we were doing, everyone was like super nice and supportive. Like, that's awesome that you're training for this thing. Like, good luck. It was kind of like literally the running montage scene in Rocky where everyone is like, go Rocky. Like, that's kind of the feeling I got. For the first time ever, City of Brotherly Love actually kind of was.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, every time that we are there, just a plethora of runners. I mean, you see it in New York City too, but you see them through the city in Philadelphia. I mean, you're kind of hard pressed to find somebody running through Times Square because it's a shit show. But in Philadelphia, just the amount of runners we see is crazy.
Because it's flat, it's interesting.
Flat, yeah.
You can run across the entire city in 5 miles. It's perfect. It's playground.
The first American, by the way.
Yes.
All right, first American Ben Franklin biography.
Quite good. It goes into more of, it's not just like the myth of Ben Franklin, because John Adams was right. It goes into his childhood, it goes into his early life, it goes into it was really interesting, and it kind of chronicled how he really was like the first American.
Yeah, I've read it as well. I agree. I highly recommend it.
So if you're interested in that era, if you're interested in Franklin itself, it's a really good one single volume biography on his life.
Perfect.
Ben Franklin Bridge, I don't know how long it is. It's over a mile.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. I was looking at the pictures. I felt good, but looking at the selfie I took of myself on the bridge, I did not look good.
Oh, God. That was like mile 5.6.
Mile 6.
Mile 6. Okay.
Yep. So, that's where you start. Well, the bridge is uphill, so that's not fun anyway. And then that's where you started to struggle a little bit, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, at mile 4.8, because my father is interested in the running bit, so he's like, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm feeling my legs are feeling tired." At mile 4.8, and it's like, why are they feeling tired? He's like, "Well, they'll loosen up," and I was sure my legs would loosen up, and stop being pains in the asses, but alas.
We probably should have listened to that more. But we'll get to that.
Yes.
So across the bridge, through the nice part of Camden to the waterfront, and then we've talked about the Camden waterfront before on the podcast. I think they've redone it. It's actually for me, it's a little boring. And I made this comment to you as we were going through our journey, especially coming off of the Italian market, which is very organic, and people just having their own organic community, to go to the Camden waterfront, which was created in some city council with private contractors, and it's very planned and sanitized and boring, but it is safe.
You need to do it because we all know Camden's prior reputation of being the biggest shithole on the East Coast. However, it's changed now. Yeah.
The aquarium is there. They've created a very nice place for you and your family to go enjoy the Delaware River. We ran to the Battleship New Jersey, which has its permanent home there. That was designed in 1939 and launched on December 7th, 1942. It was launched on the 1-year anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So, and then it served until 1991. It's one of the
49
longest
years.
Yeah, it's one of the longest serving battleships in our fleet. So, if you want to jump in and talk about what happened to you at this point.
You may be thinking, oh, Tumbles tumbled. You would be wrong. Tumbles, however, did have a mishap. So I continually felt sluggish. Going down the bridge, of course, was fine. And then I felt sluggish. I felt tight. I felt sluggish. My mental game started to go downhill because I kept feeling like this, and I said, all right. And by that point, after the Battleship New Jersey, we had to turn around to get back on the bridge, And I told Crank, I'm going to assess my run for the day. I'm going to get to 10, which I got to 10 miles, fine. But if I can do 1 or 2 more than what I'd previously done, my longest run, which was 14 miles, if I can get to 15 or 16, that's my day. Fine. So Crank starts ahead. He is going to continue his long run, and I start fast walking up the Ben Franklin Bridge. It's no use to me running up that thing. So fast walk, get to the top of the bridge, and I feel a pop in my calf.
Oh, it was that early. Shit.
Yes. I feel right at the top of the bridge, I feel a pop in my calf and pain. And I'm like, oh, fuck my life. I just tore a muscle. And tried to jog, and that was no good. So that's when I texted you. I said, there's an issue, but enjoy your run, and I will walk back to the car. And I walked another 5 miles to get to my 16 back to the car, and fuck my life.
It counts. My logic is if you were in a race and that happened, but you still made it to the finish line, you wouldn't be like, well, I didn't do the race. Well, just because you didn't run it all, you did 16 miles. So
yeah.
It is my logic. What route did you take? Just straight up Market Street?
How did I go back? So I was at mile 11 at the top of the bridge. I went back to the Starbucks, got a coffee because I felt bad for myself. And then, I walked back Market to the City Hall and then Ben Franklin Parkway to the Art Museum. Went behind the Art Museum and just walked basically in a circle to try to make that 5 miles.
Okay. I continued on. I ran up 3/4 of the bridge, down the other side, and then I started seeing signs for the Betsy Ross house, and I'm like, ooh, I've never been there. Because every time I go to Philadelphia with Tumbles says the Betsy Ross house is bullshit and we're not going, so...
It is bullshit. It is bullshit.
And then, for whatever reason, Mrs. Cranky, you and I have never been there either.
Yeah.
So...
And was it open? There. No, it wasn't.
Even if it was, I wouldn't have gone inside. Like, I'm doing a thing. But I ran up to it, I saw it, I got pictures, I'll put them on the Instagrams. Turned around, ran down to the waterfront, ran down to, which I was pleasantly surprised, the waterfront is still dedicated, and this shows you the Italian influence in that city. The waterfront is still dedicated to Christopher Columbus.
Oh.
And there's not like a Christopher Columbus statue, but there is a sculpture with his name all over it.
And it's Columbus Boulevard down there, so that makes sense.
Yep. So I ran along Columbus Boulevard to the Olympia, which is the ship that Teddy Roosevelt used to start the Spanish-American War because he's a warmonger, horrible, worst person ever, other than Wilson. But the ship is really cool and a historic artifact.
It's the largest steel-hulled warship in the world.
Yes, it is. Continued up Columbus
Boulevard. Also, it housed the unknown soldier coming back from World War II.
Yes, it did.
Admiral Dewey is the shit. It went to the Philippines. It's kind of an awesome boat.
That's the ship that was in Manila Bay and the whole story. Yeah. So it is, if you can go see it before it disintegrates, because it's sitting in the mud disintegrating right now, go see it, the USS Olympia.
Yep.
Because it's not going to be around, because they don't have the funds
to properly... They don't fucking care. They care more about the goddamn battleship fucking New Jersey over the fucking largest steel-hulled warship in the world. Whatever. Fine.
Yep. So...
what does New Jersey do to you?
Fuck the battleship New Jersey. Money. Fucking Clintons, man.
Well, if you want to have an outrage contest, you look up the USS Ling.
Oh,
Yeah,
please!
that is
I see the Ling every single day coming home from work.
Do you cry like the Indian with the tear?
Yes, a lone tear
The
falls
Ling,
down my eye.
very quickly, the Ling is a World War II diesel sub. It's one of the last on the planet, and it is even sitting in the mud more than the Olympia. It was vandalized a few years ago. It's completely flooded.
I think it got the water out, and there has been some prosecution. Sandy took out the bridge, and nobody could even get over there. And then, in the meantime, someone literally opened all the hatches and flooded it. I spent a summer with my dad on that sub. He used to give tours on that sub when I was little. So I spent an entire summer on and off, just running on and off that ship, hitting buttons. It was part of my childhood. So
sounds awesome, actually.
It was awesome. Actually, we went back before we got married. He and I went back, and the old original owner, I think, had since passed, but the son remembered my dad and let us just go on the ship by ourselves, and we got to wander around the Ling again. So that was my kind of last hurrah on it. But no, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
And now they're building condos right in front of it. So forget about any help with that poor.
There was an organization. I don't know if they're still involved or not, but they were actually, oddly enough, at one of the grocery stores in an area near my job. And I was going into, I don't know, get cat food or some nonsense. And I walked by, they were raising money for the ship. And I walked by it, and I stopped. And it, like, my little lizard brain, it took me 45 seconds to connect what I had read. I walked back, I'm like, it was like a weird out-of-body experience, because I never thought I'd see anything about it again in our area, because that's not our area anymore.
Many minutes away.
Yeah, so I don't feel as weird talking about it, but I ended up talking to the guy who was raising money for it, and I gave him whatever cash I had, in my wallet. But I don't know if they're still involved. They might still be involved. It's just, it's stuck in the mud. You can't take it upriver because it won't fit. You can't take it downriver because there's a stupid bridge it won't fit. So, like, it's kind of fakakted. Mm-hmm. It's stuck. It's not even just stuck in the mud. It's literally stuck. So they don't know what they're going to, the Navy won't help them, because why would they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how much has happened in the last 3 to 5 years. I haven't really. I know there were some prosecutions for the vandalism fairly recently, but to be honest, I haven't checked in a while.
So yeah, that, as historians, that makes us sad.
Yes.
And on a personal level, for me, that just makes me sad. My own personal history too.
But head down to the Olympia. There is, if you do want to see a diesel sub, there's a diesel sub. Starts with a
Bakuna.
Yes.
The Bakuna is right next to it.
Yep. So then I connected myself to South Street, ran across the pedestrian bridge, up South Street. South Street is fun. That's where all, like, the sex shops are. Obviously nothing was open at 11 a.m., but I was like, oh, I really haven't been to this part of Philadelphia either, because I'm normally here, with friends and my lovely wife, and have no interest or desire, but this is fun to look at. So South Street runs into Gayborhood, which is a neighborhood in Philadelphia where it was named in the 70s when this terminology was more acceptable. It was the gay part of town, so they called it Gayborhood. All the street signs have rainbows, all the crosswalks have rainbows. It's like, this is very colorful. Continued back up to 9th Street, ran through the market. I got to see it when it was open and hustling and bustling. That was cool. I was really frustrated because I was close to mile 15. I was starting to struggle. The goos and the gels were not making it. I was like, I'm in the Italian market. I'll get a slice of pizza. I could not find a fucking slice of pizza in the Italian market in Philadelphia to save my life. Like, everywhere either was not open or they didn't have it, and so I ended up at Starbucks getting stupid banana bread.
You got sustenance either way.
Yes. So that's something that I need to work on for the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to figure out what they are serving at the aid stations.
I'm not going to assume much.
Okay.
Not like the Bavarian.
Yes.
The naughty Bavarian, or whatever the hell that race was called.
Where we made it. Did we get to 20 miles on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best aid stations ever.
Connected to Broadway, ran up Broadway, the Avenue of the Arts, where all like the theaters are. And then Broadway just keeps going out of the city. And the nice little Avenue of the Arts, like signs on the lamppost disappeared, and there were no more theaters, and it started getting seedier and seedier. And I was like, oh, should probably turn around.
That's so like the area of Albany, Georgia that I was running in. I'm like,
what was that one?
This is getting a little bit seedy. It's kind of a rough and tumble town. They're trying to redo their image over the past 10 years. They've been working on like their waterfront, since it's on a river as well, the River Flint.
Okay.
But that was where the family reunion was, in Georgia. So I was running through there, and I'm like, I'm the only idiot running. Granted, the folks down there are not really, like, you could definitely tell the out-of-towner was running in their neighborhood.
Did you get looks?
I got some looks. Not that they were mean, but I wasn't in Kansas anymore, for sure.
Let's go back to where you came.
Yeah, the damn Yankees stay. The Yankees come and visit, but they go home.
Goddamn carpetbagger.
That's right. Anyway.
Historical jokes. Hilarious. Turned around, ran past City Hall, ran up to the museum.
And then that's when I first saw you. I'm like, oh, bye.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Because, yeah, you were sitting in the car, right?
I was walking, finishing up my shuffle, and I'm like, hi, bye.
Yeah, I didn't see you at all.
Yes.
I was at 19 miles then, and it was a struggle. I made it to 23. I went behind the art museum, which is the waterworks that used to be the city sewage, and also where they set up dams to do hydroelectric power, all sorts of shit back there that they don't use anymore. So hit 22 and then ran back to the car, which was another mile. Ran slightly past the car, saw you sitting in there to round out, and I did 23.
I thought you did 24.
I did 24 after we came back and you went home.
That's right.
Out again.
That's right. Well done.
So that was Philly.
Ugh. What a fucking mess of a day.
Yeah, and I was really, really struggling. I'm doing too much. I've done a long run every single weekend, increasing mileage, with not enough stretching in between, and I started to feel it. You got hurt. If I had pushed it anymore, I probably was close to getting hurt. So,
it's so strange because I'd never had this injury ever. I had started, which may definitely have contributed to the injury. Lunge walks with like 8-pound weights. I did twice the week before. I don't know. I was also running.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is my theory.
Yeah.
My theory is that you had been doing too much, not enough rest in between.
Yep.
I don't know how much you stretch. I know you stretch more than I do.
Yeah, I do.
Because I don't stretch at all.
I do warm up before I run, and then after I do a light stretch after. I should stretch more though.
So yeah, not enough stretching, and I think you overworked it, and then boom. So, we'll see where you are on the 18th. If you spend 8 hours walking, so be it.
Yeah, so where I am right now, I have not run this week at all, minus a few little senior citizen joggies to see how my calf was doing. And by senior citizen joggies, I mean kind of like shuffling, fast shuffling to see how I was. So all this week I've been walking between 3 and 4 miles. Yesterday I tested the calf out by doing about a 300-meter jog. Felt okay. I also did the leg raises on the steps to work out your plantars. So I was doing that a couple of times. It felt okay. Icing it every morning and night. Today I was on the elliptical this morning, which shockingly enough was really difficult, and not even for my calf. It works different muscles. So I was, with some resistance, that shit was hard. So if you want a good sweat workout, do resistance on the elliptical for 15 minutes and you will fucking feel it.
Where?
I felt
Where were you feeling it?
In my butt. I was feeling it in my shins. Yeah, it was a struggle. I'm like, oh, all right. So now I have a backup plan too.
Okay.
What else?
All right.
I did my 3.5 mile walk today. I did a little straightaway run. Felt all right. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And like I said, if you have to walk for 8 hours on the 18th, so be it. If you can't do the 18th or you can't do all of it, so be it.
I'm going to try to interval it as best I can.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
So let's talk about mindset, because I have not done anything like this since 2019 with the Philadelphia Marathon. And when you are running for this amount of distance and hours, although the ultra marathoners, like 22 miles is not that much, but where we are, it's a lot. And then I'm out there for 4.5, 5 hours because I slow down as the day moves on. Mindset becomes a crucial factor because you have to get past the desire to quit. You have to shut that off. So I've been listening to a lot of David Goggins. For those of you who don't know,
you're idiots and you should know who the fuck David Goggins is. I love you guys so much, even though if you don't know him, it's okay.
Yes, if you don't know him, fuck you, learn. Look him up on YouTube.
That's what he would say.
Yes, that's what he holds the world record for most consecutive pull-ups in a 24-hour period at over 4,000.
That's nuts.
Yes.
4,000 plus.
Yes. So he holds the world record. He's the only person to go through Navy SEAL training 3 times. He is only one of maybe 36 African Americans to go through SEAL training.
He went through Ranger school, I think.
Yes. Yep. He's just a machine and a beast. And if you know his backstory, where he came from to get there, is incredible, because he was up over 300 pounds working at Ecolab exterminators, spraying cockroaches, and he just decided one day,
that's it.
Enough. I'm going to turn it around. So he talks a lot about mindset and controlling your brain. He has learning disabilities, and that also plays into just his attitude of just, you are in charge of your mind, you are in charge of you. So one of the things that he really pushes is, to a certain extent, without hurting yourself, what your mind believes the body will achieve. And I have a pretty good gauge of what I can do, even if I haven't run for 2 weeks. When I get out there, if I set like, okay, I'm doing 12, I will do 12 because that's what, my brain is doing. That's what the brain believes the body will achieve. So I don't think I've ever not done this. Whatever I say my goal is for the day, I push myself until I reach it.
That is until Tumbles says, no, I can't do it anymore.
Yes.
And then Crank has to stop.
And then the one video that he has is hilarious because he's written books. He's obviously a super YouTube star. He's done TED Talk, all the fucking shit. And I know, Mrs. Cranky, you do not like this
She
attitude.
loves David Goggins.
No, she does not. But his one video, he talks about how people come up to him and like, David, how do you get up at 3 a.m. every day? I can't do it. How do you run even when it's raining? I can't do that. Like, and his response is, it's a formula. I figured it out. It's called stop being a bitch. is the formula. And I like that kind of motivation. Like when I was doing my 22-mile run, I hit 21.3 and I wanted to stop. I was like, okay, this is 1.3 miles more than I did last week. I did 20 last week. It's like, no, stop being a bitch. You're so close to 22. Just round that shit the fuck out to 22. Stop being a little bitch. Just fucking run 0.7 more. And that, for me, that works. So that's what my mindset has been like the last month or so. Just shut the fuck up and grind it out.
I'm very jealous of his mindset. I'm very jealous. It seems to be a kind of a man mindset.
Yes.
I don't want to generalize that because I'm sure chicks are like that too, but I have noticed that is definitely a male mindset. I'm going to do this, so it shall be done.
Yes.
Whereas, like, I'm trying to follow this. It's like, okay, I can't think like that. Get to the next light post. That's how I figure it out, but...
Okay.
It's positive versus negative.
Yeah, you're definitely more a positive, and so are you, Mrs. Cranky, like a positive reinforcement.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not a fan of this.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to like explain it in a way where, for someone who's genuinely on the cusp of wanting to change, but that change is incredibly intimidating. And if it's an interview, or you come up to someone and you're talking to them and you're asking these questions because you genuinely don't know. You genuinely don't know. You maybe there is some phrase or motivation, or maybe there is some tip of, yeah, there were days I didn't want to get out of bed either, but I told myself that the result would make it worth it. And then once you start doing it, it becomes a change, then a habit, and then it's a new lifestyle. Explaining that would give someone a sense of hope, a sense of optimism, a sense of, well, that's really good. I want to feel that good too. Telling someone to stop being a little bitch is it's insulting, and I think
he does clarify. He says it's not a gender thing.
No. I wasn't little bitch as a gender thing either. It was stop being such a baby and just do it. And for someone who feels intimidated by it anyway, and now is told, just stop being a baby.
That I know for some people it shuts people down.
It shuts people down, and especially someone who is nervous enough to start and doesn't believe that they can anyway, because realistically, psychologically, something needs to become a habit, and something once you start a new routine, it really is uncomfortable for a while, and it's okay. Be comfortable in being uncomfortable. And that's such a freaking cliche, and it probably sounds stupid to his ears, but to for some people, that's a more positive way of saying, well, just suck it up and do it. No, just get comfortable being uncomfortable.
He says that too.
Not enough. And for me, I would.
And the way, and this is where you're still going to continue to disagree. The way he says that is enjoy your pain. Your pain isn't in conflict, and I know you don't like that either.
Because there are some people who would take that and not understand from a medical point of view. That's very dangerous, especially if you're new to doing a lot of exercise, you're new to this program. Muscle soreness is one thing, but if you have chest pain, go to the doctor, go to the hospital. No, he said, I need my pain. I need to feel, my pain makes me a man. No, you're having a heart attack, honey.
And he was close to having one, actually, at the Moab 240 race last year or the year before.
And he did have to stop that.
Yeah, he had to go to the hospital.
You broke your leg. Go deal with it. And because some people have a hard time delineating, okay, yeah, my legs are sore. I got to push through this pain. That's a good, or I fell and hurt myself. I should go to the hospital. Nah, I'm not a pussy.
Yeah, well.
So, for me, that is just not. Plus, I've made it a point to stop being mean to myself. To stop saying mean things to myself. So even when I do exercise, saying, come on, you little bitch, just go, is really demoralizing.
Yeah, me. I draw strength from that.
No.
It's also the man versus female.
Yeah, it's the gender thing as well.
Potentially, and it's just a different philosophy on exercise and a different philosophy on motivation. And if you find that that's motivating for you, that's great. But, the whole, I could use some advice on how do I start? I feel really intimidated. Just stop being a little bitch. Wow. That was real helpful. Thank you. It's not helpful. Saying set an alarm. Don't turn on the lights when your alarm goes off. Don't go back to sleep. It's going to be uncomfortable. There are going to be days that you don't want to, but you're going to feel really good if you do it. That's more motivating to someone than, I don't know stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't tell me how to start.
Yeah. I would encourage people to go check out his stuff because it's more nuanced than I'm making it out, but that is.
I'm not saying that he's a terrible person. I'm not saying he's giving bad advice necessarily. I'm saying I looked at it and I heard you talking about it. It's just not.
Yeah, you shut down and I was like, that's awesome.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
That's not how I get motivated.
Yeah.
It's just a different philosophy on it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you already have a base of exercise and you're not so intimidated by starting, that may be great. Like you kind of have your routines established. You don't really struggle all that much with motivation.
Yeah.
I have, and other people like me with health problems and the fatigue and the craziness and the stupid shit. It makes you want to give up.
I got you. So, yeah. But for me, that really works. And it's also just like the music that we listen to is kind of goes along the same thing. Like you've got Tumbles, your 80s new wave going, and your club music, and I'm listening to Iron Maiden's scream about nuclear weapons and D-Day and fucking 14th century Catholics killing, and it's a completely different mindset.
Oh, yeah.
I always like pop music.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think that's also a gender thing.
But I found if something can make me smile or laugh, they say that if you smile or laugh when you run, it actually makes it easier.
Yep.
So if something can make me laugh while I'm running, and if it's like my Pandora pop music and like, I don't know, I'm Too Sexy pops in and I start laughing because like, where the hell did that come from? It's actually easier. Now, granted, I haven't run since the summer, but that's sometimes what would happen. If it could make me laugh, then like, it's easier.
So, Crank, maybe if you smile, you get to mile 25.
Maybe. I'll try it. I don't think it's going to work, but I'll try it.
Arnold smile.
So, yeah, anything else on that, or do we want to move on?
No, that's about it. It's mind over matter, basically. Your mind is 75% of your problems with running.
Yes, exactly. Diet. So you gave me this awesome book about the Astoria colony, the first American West colony in California. And
I'm so glad you like it.
We found that it's kind of like a hiking and running book, actually.
Yes.
Because they hiked across the fucking continent to get there. But one of the things the book was talking about is in winter, hikers need approximately 5,000 calories per day when you are out in weather doing strenuous exercise. So even though we've had a really mild winter, we have been doing a lot more strenuous exercise than we were last winter. So I have had fucking cravings for food. Mrs. Cranky has been going nuts because there's no fucking food in the house anymore.
Out of house and home. You're eating me out of house and home, and I do all the grocery shopping.
I do a little bit of it sometimes on the weekends. So I know one day on my 22-mile run, I had a double quarter pounder with cheese after and fries, and I still was at a calorie deficit on the day.
Yep.
So, but that was a treat after the run. Mostly I've just increased protein and decreased sugar. So I'm eating more, but hardly any sugar. And I'm losing, I think, a healthy amount of weight. I'm not like losing an insane amount all at once, but I do notice I'm down a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm having more protein-based foods as well. I'm trying to cut out, of course, the simples in the afternoons at work because I have the desk job. I have to have like a bit of a sugar pick-me-up. Like there we have these individual packets of like Swedish fish, and there may be 5 or 6 fish in there, and that's kind of like perfect to like get me awake and out the door, but it doesn't hinder my blood sugar much at all.
Perfect. So we're kind of doing something similar. I have an egg white burrito in the morning. Just increasing protein, decreasing sugar. So,
yep.
One more thing I wanted to mention before we wrap this up, and then I guess we'll come back and report on how we did at the race. Since we spent all this time talking prep, we should tell people how the fuck we did after it's over.
That's right, we should.
I think it was on the Martin Luther King, one of our runs, you said you started to taste blood in your mouth. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because that is something that is fairly common.
Yeah, it is.
And what that is about is under extreme athletes. I'm reading right from the Astoria book. Athletes under extreme exertion, their lung tissue begins to hemorrhage.
That's right. So that's where you're tasting it. It's not, it's Is it a medical anomaly? No. I mean, it's known, but they're not sure why it happens. It's not really bad for you. That's just, you get that irony taste.
Anesthesia. Like some medications, when they put it through your IV, not just anesthesia, but when they put it through your IV, when they put a medication through your IV, some medications you can taste it, you could smell it, because it's getting into your veins, it's going in, like it's like something. Yeah, you can taste and you can smell it. It is the weirdest experience, but yeah, sometimes when you get specific medicines pushed through your IV, you can kind of taste and smell it. It's wild.
Yeah. The book cites a historical example. One of the colonists was being chased by Blackfoot Indians, and he was doing a flat-out sprint for 6 miles in 1815 gear, and his nose started to hemorrhage, and he was coughing up blood as he was running. But you talk about motivation, like, if I don't outrun these fuckers, I'm gonna get scalped.
Yep.
That's some fucking motivation, and it doesn't matter that all the capillaries in your lungs have burst and you are coughing up blood and you are spewing blood from your nose. You are gonna keep fucking running. So
maybe that should be the motivation. Pretend you're gonna get scalped.
Pretend I'm gonna get scalped, and yeah, then I'll finish in 4 hours and 19 minutes. So,
will they give me a scooter and a costume? Because
you can dress as Pocahontas and chase after me.
just, not a scooter, because I can't actually chase after you, because
Dress up like Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, no, but I have to have like a scooter or something. One of them little segways.
Yeah.
It's not as intimidating. Maybe I can decorate this Segway. Maybe look a little more intimidating, and then just chase you. I can't run after you.
I don't think that's gonna work, honey.
You can outrun me. Well,
it's also a trail, so it's not flat.
Yeah. So.
Never mind. Too much work.
Too much work, she says.
That's
She's
right.
not...
But
Is there anything else that we wanted to quickly mention before we wrap up this extended special episode?
Oh, it was extended special episode. In terms of nutrition, we're keeping with our goos and our
yes, thank you.
Our salts and everything that we know. I'm finding that a peanut butter sandwich on whole wheat or white bread works really well for me when I run. I don't get the stitch. I don't get digestive problems. So that's going to be my like hour 5 snack. Other than that, it's going to be the goo blocks and the goos that we like.
Yeah, so the goo blocks and then the
Gels.
the GU, like the slimy
Gels.
stuff. Yeah.
Birthday cake flavor.
It has the consistency of snot or other bodily
But it tastes
fluids.
a lot better.
But it tastes a lot better. Well, I don't know how the other bodily fluids taste, but it does taste better than snot. So, on that note...
Yeah, indeed.
Wrap it up.
Ending on a high note. All right. We've kept you long enough. Follow us on the gram, rocks_and_roots_pod. We will get back. Actually, we will be back out on trail in Virginia the first 2 days of April. We will be out there, and we will regale you with our reintroduction to the AT. I'm very excited. But anyway, yes, follow us on the gram. We're also on YouTube. All of these episodes will be on YouTube. Crank is on TikTok, same name, Rocks Roots Podcast. And other than that, it's been a long one. Ciao.